been doing my own extensive research regarding being rich, and I have found out that there are only 4 ways on how you can get rich. And by the way, the number 3 is quite the most reliable one and the most interesting one. I can attest to that. This is Good Joseph. In case you're watching me for the first time, or what I ask you to do is go ahead and subscribe if you have not. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for your eyeballs. And by the way, if you need my services in one way or the other, this happens to be my number. You can pick it up there. By the way, you can substitute this 0 with 254. That's the Kenyan code in case you're watching me from outside the country. Anyway, let's get on the business now. If we say that there are only 4 ways on how you can actually amass or become wealthy, let's check out what are these 4 ways. And well, if the way number 1 doesn't work for you, check out the way number 3, check out way number 4, or something like that. Now, if we may start with the first one. First of all, before we even discuss the ways that are here, they all require time. First of all, let me just shed this light on to you. First of all, they require time, they require commitment, they require dedication. Are you together? They require discipline. And of course, they require what we call sacrifice. Now, all those 4, regardless of which one, they require all these 5 things that I've discussed here. So if you don't have anything of these, then the 4 ways won't work for you. But anyway, what are these 4 ways? Let's start with way number 1. The way number 1 is to inherit it. If you want to become wealthy, is to inherit. But the question is, do you come from a family whereby the wealth has already been created for you? Back then, your parents did something for you. Or do you come from a family whereby the great-grandparents usually did something for you? You guys already have the foundation. You can inherit it. By the way, this is the easiest. The only thing that you need to do is to prepare yourself to get that, what you're going to be given, then take it care of it. Then you're going to skip all the processes of sacrifice, of discipline. Of course, the discipline one, you have to have it regardless of you inheriting it. So to inherit, that is one of the fastest way that you can actually do to actually, sort of cut across all those processes of creating wealth, because honestly it's very tedious, especially if you come from a family which is a sorry family, meaning it's unfortunate family, and it's you have to be the person who is the genesis of all this. Then it's gonna be a very, very tough for you to actually go ahead and achieve this particular target. So the point is, to inherit it, again, it all determined by your great grandparents, determined by your parents, determined on where you come from, the background and what have you. So this is the easiest, the one that most of the people tend to look for. And this is where you find most of the people, they end up blaming their parents. They say, oh, if my parents were doing something, or, I could be somewhere. Now here, look where I am. I'm struggling. I've graduated. I don't even have any godfather to connect me to a job. But then if you come from a family where, let's say your father was a lecturer or is a lecturer, or you find maybe your father was some politicians in the years back or something, like they always leave those sort of connections here and there. They know some people whom they can call. But if you come from a family whereby, your mommy didn't even go to school, your dad even tried the best, went to grade 2, and then there you are the first person to get a degree. Nobody has ever done that. You don't even have a connection. Like, it becomes very, very hard. That's why there is a certain individual said that truly, if you come from a poor background, or if you come from a poor family, commonly known as, so you find it usually becomes very, very hard for you to actually break that ceiling and go beyond that to achieve that particular target. I'm not saying it cannot happen. It can happen. But understand, there is a lot of wars that you have to fight, that you have to go beyond, so that you can be able to see the beauty of the other side. So inheriting it is the first one, and it's the easiest one. It's the most, that is that one that most of the people usually admire in life. So the question is, if you do not have ways of inheriting it, so is it an option to you? No, it is not an option to you. So what you do, just pack it up, put it at the back of your head, and forget about it, because that doesn't work. It cannot actually work for you. We go to the next one. You steal it. Yeah, that's quite interesting and funny. Yeah, sure. The other way you can actually accumulate wealth, you steal it. But this one comes with the hooks attached. My Bible tells me that the wealth gathered little by little does what? It stays with you, and actually can be enjoyed by the generations and the generations to come. But then if you go ahead and steal, because stealing is getting it from somebody, without their will. And that means they're not happy with you getting it from them. And then that means it actually does not come with what we call, you're not assured of having this wealth the rest of your life. For example, welcome to Africa. By the way, we used to think that Africa is the only continent that people do corruption, the politicians. No, I realized regardless of the country that you come from, whether the first world or the second or whichever, they usually steal, but they steal in a different way. But in Africa, the funny thing is that they steal and they show us that they are stealing, and and the citizens do nothing. So anyway, well, they say if you want to be wealthy in Africa, the fastest way to be wealthy is simply be a politician. And the funny thing, if you come to the continent of Africa, this is where you find dollar billionaires and dollar multimillionaires, but somebody that has never invented anything. You never hear about anything that guy has ever invested. You cannot even see, the moment you hear that somebody is a billionaire, you have to feel its effect, because the amount of money you make is directly proportional to the number of people you influence. If somebody has a logistic company, probably in one way or the other, before the days goes, or even before a week goes, you have to see at least some of his wealth or some of our wealth or something like that. But in politicians, if you somebody, you don't know any business has ever started, you don't know any production company he has, you don't even know any fintech he has just nothing, just nothing. He has never, most of them, I'm not saying that all of them, most of them you find that they usually don't have something that you can attest and say, hey, this is an invention of somebody, hey, this is what this individual contributed to the society in one way. That's why the society is what do you call, is paying him heavily and something like that. So point is, if you want to go this way, of which I highly discourage it, it is not the best way you can go with it. This is a way that you can actually farm there. But listen one thing, whoever lives by gun will actually die by gun. That's a reality. So the point is, this is not an option. But there are people who do this and they end up becoming wealthy. They tend to think that they are wealthy. They tend to think that they are okay. They're living a comfortable life. But the fact remains, they're gonna be wither just like a flower withers, and that world gonna disintegrate and just goes away. So the reality is, this is not an option that I will let you know, I will encourage you to explore, because doesn't work, it is not even a good one, and back on something that is actually reliable. But if you're watching me and you're a politician, probably you're smiling at the back of your big chair with a very long headrest, watching a very big TV, and that house that you're having, that money was meant for the construction of a road somewhere or a railway somewhere, but there you're enjoying and you're having time. You think that you're working hard, and time will tell. I have nothing to say to you, but time will tell. Are we together? Now we go to the option number 3, which is the most reliable one. Work hard like nobody else. Are we together? You work hard like nobody else. Do not ever let anybody overwork or outwork you. This is a situation whereby, you know what, I don't have anything to inherit, I cannot steal because that is not your principle. Then what do? You have to work hard as much as you can. You have to, you have to be there, you have to be disciplined with the cash that you're getting. That money that you're getting at the end of the day, at the end of the week or month or whichever the period of time, you have to know one thing. I'm employed right now. Nobody employs me to be wealthy. That's for a fact. Then I have to find out on ways on how I can be able to plan myself with that what I'm getting, regardless of it being small. I have to make sure that I manage, because I always tell you guys that God stops management, or rather God stops growth where there is no management. You have to have the ability to manage that what you have. You have to have that ability, and you must be an individual. And again, something I forgot to tell you guys, wealth is very intentional. It's very intentional. You cannot, and that's why you find some people tend to substitute hard work with miracles. You want to bypass all the requirements that are needed: hard work, sacrifice. You have to be a good manager, meaning to manage the cash that is coming in. You have to understand and learn about investments. You have to have all these things, but then people don't want to do all those because it is boring. By the way, I don't know whether you know this. The process of wealth creation is very boring. Number two, it ends up you being alone, because in most cases you find that you have to shake off a lot of people alongside as you move up there. It's very lonely up there. If you didn't know that, you find that you have to stand out from the crowd. If you realize that your age mates are doing things, let's say for example you have the ability to buy a car, and everybody as far as your age mate is concerned are buying cars, but then for your case you say, you know what, I don't want to buy a car, I just want to do something different. Of course you will stand out. Of course it means that you look as if you're an outcast. You're not conforming to the norm. And then what happens now? People tend to give you some funny names. I remember when I started making this video, people say, hey, Joseph is advising people and what have you. What does he have to advise people and what? Because most of the people don't understand the dream when you're starting it. People only believe in the dream when they see it working. So that's why it's very hard to find somebody working with you or supporting you along the way when you're starting and what have you. Because apparently you are the dreamer. And if you happen to dream about something that they have never thought about it, then it appears as if you are being delusional. And that's why I said one characteristics of becoming wealthy, you have to be delusional. Most of the things that you find out, for example, if you can go back to say like around 1919 or around 1920, when we didn't have the aeroplanes, and then the Wright brothers who invented the aeroplanes, they were talking to the people in those times and they were telling them, I want to invent something that will be carrying people and, should I say, walking or flying or whatever the thing it is, just like the way bird flies in the air, that thing will be actually flying in the air and taking people from far places to far places. That is like being delusion. People will be laughing at you, be like, what are you saying? Because even whatever you're saying, it does not make any sense. Whatever you're saying, it does not resonate with what they are used to. Because people tend to always what do you call, whatever you tell them, they resonate with what they have been exposed to. They never go beyond their exposure. So whatever you tell them, they take it to the limits of their exposure. And that's why if you change people, if you change the environment, you find people who have been exposed more. For example, if you go to somebody, tell them, I would like to be a billionaire, and probably you're talking to a billionaire. That guy is more likely to understand what you're saying because he has ever seen a billion. But then if you're talking to people who has ever seen something, their much money they've ever seen is 100K, then you're speaking the language of a billion. There they are struggling to hit a million. That appears as if it's a delusion. So that's why I'm telling you, it is always good to make sure that you work as hard as much as possible and never let anybody outwork you. But remember this, only working hard doesn't make you or guarantee you to becoming wealthy. There are some elements of you working smart. There is an element of when you go work hard, please don't leave your brains behind. Make sure that at least you understand one concept, because you find people just working hard and then expecting by virtue of listen, let me tell you one secret. What I came to realize, if you oh my, how can I say this? If you just rely on your own effort to simply make some cash by your own effort, by your own hands, there is always a limit to how much you can make. But then if you actually use other people, when I say use, I mean in a positive way, I don't mean in a negative way. I was watching a certain show somewhere and somebody said that the first million, you'll make it by your own. But from there going forward, other people will help you to make it. What do I mean? When you employ people, you establish a business, because you cannot be everywhere at the same time, and you cannot also be able to open a business and run it all by yourself. You have to have some expertise, being here and there, so that you get what I'm saying. So the point is, you have to have, expertise being with you, or maybe you have to be in partnership with some companies. Maybe you have some commissions, maybe you have some affiliation or something like you cannot really fully rely on just you working for you. Let's say, for example, you work somewhere and you are paid 1,000 a day. Honestly speaking, so if you can't just rely on that 1,000 that you're making, you have to go there, do something, you get 1,000, do something, you get 1,000. There is a limit to what you can do, or there's a limit to what you can actually get out of that. The point number 4 is, if you marry, or through marriage, if you marry somebody who is already wealthy, then by default you become wealthy. Well, if you come from the Western countries, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I don't want to talk much about that. So anyway, guys, those are the only 4 ways on how you can use, or 4 ways of what you can do to actually becoming rich as far as this life is concerned. This is Good Joseph. As always, hit that subscription button, like the video, and go ahead and leave a comment on the comment section. For now, it's a goodbye and see you in the next one.